Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
Exclusive! David Ayer's Suicide Squad cut is happening and coming to HBO Max.
David Ayer says, not true.
This show ain't no good.
A lot of information has been coming out about David Ayer's Suicide Squad, coming directly from David Ayer. An exclusive article was dropped by the world-famous smallscreen.co.uk. And to the credit of the webpage, they did update their page, saying David Ayer has taken to Twitter to claim that his cut of Suicide Squad is not coming to HBO Max. We are standing by our sources, but we wanted to make sure his tweet was mentioned. I will say this for the sake of the article, that it's not like people in Hollywood necessarily tell the truth. There's very infamous examples of when actors and directors lie to the media about projects. There are very infamous ones with Jason Momoa and Joaquin Phoenix.
Name came up recently with this Batman Superman stuff.
I get it all the time. It's just a rumor.
Is it just a rumor though?
It's rumors, I swear.
The latest is that I'm gonna see you as Aquaman. I'm gonna see you as Aquaman in a cameo, and then you're gonna pop up in Justice League. Are you promising me, Jason, man to man?
Man to man. You can punch me in the face.
There's nothing to it.
You can punch me in the face.
I can understand why Edward and smallscreen.co.uk.net.gov are following along with their sources and the information that is being provided. There is a lot of momentum, it seems like, in favor of David Ayer's Suicide Squad. There are certain events that need to happen first, we believe, before that will actually get released.
When it comes to HBO Max and this acquiring of these IPs to put exclusive content on their streaming service, when you look at HBO Max and what they're doing, Disney Plus, Netflix, The Cock, all those streaming services have exclusive content, but it feels like, or maybe it's just my preference, HBO Max has access to a lot of IP that I am vastly interested in.
Maybe not right now. Maybe Netflix is still the king of streaming services. However, HBO Max has endless possibilities, especially if they decide, as this article mentions, to become the place for director's cuts. They could really carve their own niche in this market and really drive a lot of attention towards their streaming service if they continue being the place for director's cuts.
But there is evidence out there that David Ayer could be in talks, at least, about his cut, or something has progressed in some manner to where he has actually recently watched his cut back in 2018. David Ayer says, I have no control or access to old work media from any of my films. The copyright holder controls it. So he stated that back in 2018. In a very recent tweet in October of 2020, I took the hits like a good soldier when the studio cut hit the streets. It's who I am. I watched my cut for the first time since it was abandoned. It is fucking amazing. I felt guilty for years, like I fucked up. Nope, it's fire. It's the tone of the Comic-Con trailer 100%.
Oh shit, here we go again.
So that's what makes a lot of this very intriguing, is the fact that David Ayer is really coming out and adding more information very similar to what Zack Snyder did. He's being honest about the situation. He's telling people the tone of his movie. That's what adds to the intrigue about David Ayer's Suicide Squad and potentially the momentum. This is a tweet response within a tweet within another tweet, but essentially on Twitter, the AyerCut asked what was the toughest scene to leave on the cutting room floor at David Ayer Movies, and he responded with the first 40 minutes.
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
What does that entail necessarily? Does that mean there's actually 40 minutes that we did not see? Or is the first 40 minutes of his movie just completely different? Is it altered with some of the same footage that we saw, but is it in different order? Or did they really just remove 40 minutes, or is his 40 minutes just completely different? How long is his cut of Suicide Squad?
Is it 214 minutes?
Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker.
Another fan asked, they cut and rearranged 40 plus minutes from the first Suicide Squad. No wonder it was such a mess. David Ayer replied, it was ripped to pieces. I can't emphasize that enough. This is what is so crazy, but I guess at this point we should not be surprised with Warner Brothers, and sometimes the direction they decide to go is the fact that they had 40 minutes just completely ripped apart from this version to really make a completely different movie. Sounds familiar.
One tweet saying, the musical video edit in the theatrical cut, one of the things I dislike the most. I want to see the real thing. David Ayer responds, my cut was all score. No source cues at all. All that forced music. I mean, this is what we got.
They call him Killer Croc.
You don't own me.
Hi, boys.
Two trailer park girls go round the outside.
Sam Parker Metal says, just goes to show how influential to the final cut those music trailers were. David Ayer's response, for sure, that became a factor, but the reason was BVS got chewed up by the critics and the success of Deadpool. The studio leadership at the time panicked. No shit. Then major elements of my cut were ripped out before I could mature the edit. Then Johns wrote pages I had to reshoot.
So let it be written, so let it be done. The story of Warner Brothers in 2016.
It's obvious to me, and I think it's pretty obvious to anybody that's listening to this podcast and that's followed what happened with DC, that a lot of the problems that came about with the building of their cinematic universe, including the reactionary tendency to keep changing back and forth every time, at the drop of a hat, they would freak out and change what they were going to do, and that was, Suji Hara played a big role in that. His attitude toward the DC properties and general toward how he ran the studio, what he did, the reason he left was bad, obviously, and beyond that, I think there were a lot of problems with what was happening in terms of how the decisions were made with the DC universe. And Suji Hara, a lot of that was his call. He wanted less Superman in Batman versus Superman, for example, and that's why a lot of those edits happened. All of those things, it was decision making based on people wanting to hit target dates so they got their bonuses at the end of the year, and a lot of crap that shouldn't have sabotaged the artistic process the way that it did.
A lot of this we kind of already assumed. We knew with the success of Deadpool and the fact that BVS was just ran through the mud by the critics. We knew that influenced a lot of how Suicide Squad was edited and released. But it's crazy to see David Ayer take to Twitter and really just put it out there and say, yeah, this is exactly what happened. And then he even added, Johns wrote pages I had to reshoot. He was up against the wall. He had an idea that he wanted to go with. Probably would have explained a lot more. We know Jared Leto put in a lot of work into his Joker, and that got shit all over as well. Interesting to see David Ayer really start to be honest about how everything unfolded with Suicide Squad.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.
You can see this is that moment where a lot of things shift because he talks about Johns rewriting those pages. Well, Suicide Squad made $746 million without a China release on a budget of $175 million. So this movie was one of the most successful DC movies up till Aquaman. So you think this is your formula for success. Now you can see what happened to Zack Snyder, and as executives at WB stand back and look, they're thinking, why was this successful? Because of the rewrites and the reshoots. That's how they probably looked at it. Of course, a lot of things get changed, a lot of things happened, and that is the tale of WB in 2016 and 17.
One final tweet we will leave you with. This is actually written in Portuguese on Twitter, translated to perfection by Twitter via Google. Q hate both Ayer and Leto, got a bad reputation and a lot of hater fuck. And a lot of hater because of something they had nothing to do with.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
And apparently, David Ayer knows Portuguese better than Google does, and he says that's why it's important for artists to control their work.
So what is the future for David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad? Honestly, to us, it's inevitable that it eventually will get an exclusive drop on HBO Max. It's just predicated on whether or not Zack Snyder's Justice League is successful. A lot of future projects are based solely on the success of Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you want a Ben Affleck Batman series, it's predicated on how well Zack Snyder's Justice League does. If you want David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad, it all is based off the success of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Don't pirate it, don't bootleg it, no matter where you're at, because Snyder's already stated that they will have a way for international video on demand if HBO Max isn't in your area. So this is very important. If you care about this era of the DCEU and you care about its success and you want to see more projects involving these particular characters and these directors, make sure you support Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Exactly. Follow your trailer trash leaders and subscribe or do whatever you can to show your support for Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's amazing to think that all of the debauchery that went on with this entire universe just a couple of years ago, HBO Max and Warner Media can really reap the benefits, but we have to show them that we are ready to give our money and give our support for these movies.
So that's right, don't use your LimeWire to download it off of American Online.
Fuck, you're old.
So that'll wrap up our episode talking about David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad. It is inevitable, but you gotta make sure you support Zack Snyder's Justice League. For all this to come to fruition, you need to support Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Thank you to everyone who has been liked, sharing, and subscribing our videos. We do have a Patreon and we have YouTube members if you want to support us elsewhere, but we greatly appreciate all of the new members, all of the new subscribers that we've gotten. We do have a website if you want to check that out. The link will be in the description below. We have a sweet new t-shirt called Trash or Trashier, and it is glorious. We love it. So if you want some Comic Movie Marks merch, check out our website.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.